Okay, so I'm outside, got the thing. Maybe I should adjust the camera a little. Oh, that's a dodgy, I don't know. We'll just deal with it, we'll live with it, okay? You can see I'm here. So yeah, so I am a little nervous about this process, and but I'm pretty aware of some of the failings. I just keep on calling it failings, but maybe that's what it is. But I'm just like being inconsistent. I feel like almost endemically self-sabotaging. I'm not sure whether that's an insecurity issue or something to do with this. But I certainly feel the ostracizing, being bullied and ostracized as even as self, even being aloof, but feeling separate, has always had its impact, and that has written the programming of my brain a certain way. Okay, so let's start at the top. I'm going to put my patient name in, which is me. There we go. And the date, which I classically can't remember, even though I probably know. Something like the 3rd of... 3rd of 10th. So yeah, 2018. Here we go. So let's see what the system has in place for the modern paradigm of ADHD in the place. Let's try it. Let's give it a go. Okay. Here we go. So the boxes are split into different options. Never, rarely, sometimes, often, or very often. These are shaded in 2 different tones. It's a two-step report. It's a two-step report. No, it is. So it's, yeah. So and the like are on nevers and rarelies, and sometimes, oftens, and very oftens are the thing. So this has obviously got to be quite an honest thing. It does make my stomach churn, frankly, a tiny bit actually. Okay, number 1. How often do you have trouble wrapping up the final details of a project once the challenging parts have been done? I've got to be honest with that. It's immediately very often. I find myself having multiple projects on at the same time. I find completing things really freaking difficult, and it's one of the reasons why I've kind of wanted a buddy system or a PA. And that's not a privilege thing. It's just literally to maximise how good I could be. It's like, do you want to double the effect of one guy? Well, you need 2 people for that. But anyway, let's come back to the buddy system later on. It's just a concept I've had, which is pretty obvious. Buddy system. I don't want it to be called that. Think more along the lines of Philip Pullman and Demon, which I believe we're kind of moving towards with augmentation anyway through our technology. But come on, let's at least have a little chitty chinwag about it, because I think human beings are going to need some extra income soon, and I think we probably will end up just looking after each other and the machines. Hopefully. I should freaking hope so. Let's get back to this. So I said very often for having trouble wrapping up the details, the final details of the project. Honestly, for me, reaching that is like reaching some form of nirvana, like wrapping up a job. Fuck. I'd love... Anyway, how often do you have difficulty getting things in order when you have to do a task that requires organisation? How do you have difficulty getting things in order when you have to do a task that requires organisation? Well, I'm going to say you've got never, rarely, sometimes. It's difficult because I'm quite positive. Do we go on our worst on this checklist? Would you go with your worst or with your best? Because in a dark time, in a shit time, when I've been just not in the place, not in the moment, and wrapped up in whatever it is, the energy spasm. I always leave things to last minute. Can I put a little note? Always leave things till last. So sometimes, but it doesn't mean that I'm not good at organisation. Fuck. Okay, let's just be honest. How often do you have difficulty getting things in order when you do your task that requires it? I suppose difficulty is putting something off until the last minute, isn't it? So I should say often. Except sometimes. Maybe I'm in the sometimes realm. Maybe my worst I've been often. I just don't know. I'm going to do strong. I'm going to dissect 2. There we go. 50. 0.5. Look at that. Okay, next point. Let me just pause this just in case we lose it. Okay, hi. Number 3. How often do you have problems remembering appointments or obligations? Oh, guys, this is almost like hi. This is my character assassination video. I want you to come with me while I assassinate my own ass. I put ass back into assassinate. Ass assassinate. Yeah, a lot, man. A lot. But this is why I use digital diaries and things like that. But it's another reason why a PA would be good. I know the way this is called Part A. Get a PA. I don't mind being someone else's PA as well, which is weird, because I'm quite good at helping other people do stuff, which is fucking annoying, I'm telling you now. It must be annoying for people around me to see how inconsistent I am. Je suis inconsistent. Tout le frickin' time. Yeah, I do have problems. Why? Even though I know when they are. Sometimes I get wrapped up in the moment. Fuck, dude. When you have a task that requires a lot of thought, this is number 4. How often do you avoid or delay getting started? Well, it depends. I'm going to say sometimes. My heart is pounding. Oh. When you have a task that requires a lot of thought, how often do you avoid or delay getting started? I've said often. How often do you fidget or squirm with your hands or your feet when you have to sit down for a long time? Yeah, I drum things, guys. Very often. How often do you feel overly active and compelled to do things like you were driven by a motor? I don't know. Do I run something called Vibrulette, which involves being overly active, compelling people to do things, and literally it being driven by a motor, and the motor is you, people of Earth. You can change dance floor history. You can write to history tonight. I would say very often. I would say I've literally channeled that into performance. So that's how I've dealt with it. But yeah, fucking very often, guys. Pardon my language. Shit. How often do you make careless mistakes when you have to work on a boring or difficult project? Shit, hold on. Okay, so I actually quite like I would say in this I'd actually prefer. I like a difficult project. I like logistics. Logistics is my thing. I like solving things and sourcing things, and that's my strength. So I feel, I don't know if that's pride speaking, but it is a little. But I guess when I call it end of day pain, guys. End of day pain. Okay. Of scars. You can even see that. Oh, scars everywhere. Like scars. Proper, like, isn't zooming in, like all over my knuckles. Just from years of carpentry and making stuff. It's when I'm in a like rush to finish or to get onto something else that sometimes I'm careless and slip and break things, and I'm also clumsy in life in that way as well, which I know people find deeply infuriating. And yeah, I'll come back to the socks later, but there's socks. We'll do a sock thing. Special sock song. One goes out to you, or Carl. Yeah, careless mistakes. How the fuck am I going to unprogram that out of my brain? Often. I want to say sometimes. I am relatively meticulous. I mean, I've got a high output, so statistically, I wonder what my careless mistake wedge is on the pie chart of me. I don't want to think about that. I've got a percentage. It makes my stomach churn again. Fuck. Often. I mean, it's often the things in life that you don't want, that hurt or you're frightened of, that probably the stuff that hits you in the guts, which is what's going on now. I'm getting like low blow from left, right and centre. It probably holds some truth, right? Don't be sad. Number 8. They said 5 minutes. Oh, Jesus, we're already into like 10 minutes. Sorry. How often do you have difficulty keeping your attention when you're doing boring or repetitive work? Very much depends. If I breathe, if I meditate, if I want to do it, if I want to do it, if I'm enthused, if I haven't been told what to do, I'm very fickle. Basically, I'm a fickle little diva. Basically, who hates being told what to do, yet also really appreciates being told what to do. That's like the fact. I remember when my first day of school, what's her name, Mrs. Adams said, didn't do too well for me, to be honest. He called me a little... Oh, no, it was in a report. I could even find it at some point to show you. Joseph Mann is a pickle. No, sorry. Joseph Mann? No. Joe is a pickle. I would grab one, but I don't think I've got any nearby. I've got some parsnips. I grew them myself. Quite proud. Might dig one out in a minute, just to show you. Yeah. This is one of the smaller parsnips I've seen. I didn't really want to go yanking more out of the ground. It smells great, but when are you going to harvest these? Because I should look it up. Note to self, it's never going to happen. You're going to have to remind me. I'll just have to let the parsnips remind me. Excuse me. Anyway, what was I saying? How often do you have difficulty keeping your attention when you're doing boring or repetitive work? Well, this isn't... I mean, my attention was on parsnips. It was pretty relevant. I said it's pickle. It's all linked, man. Don't try and catch me out with that. No. How often do you have difficulty keeping your attention when you're doing something boring or repetitive? How... Oh shit, I started reading the next question. My attention is... I love my attention. How often do you have difficulty keeping your attention when you're doing boring or repetitive work? I'd like to say I'm in control of my attention. But maybe that's the conflict. Maybe this is the conflict which I am facing. That I am not in control of my own attention. Yeah. Anyway, back to this. Oh, fuck. Sometimes it's in the white, you see. It's not like I want to be classified, but I almost feel like on this one, strongly going never. It's like my attention just gets diverted. So, oh, that's about obeying. Will you obey? So like I just like, no. No, obey. Obey hard. No. I don't want to take the piss out of this process, but I almost want to say, I might say compliance issue. Compliance issue due to respect damage? Dude. Okay, that doesn't make much sense. I know that makes me sound like a really annoying person. And it's going to fuck their sample checklist up. But maybe we can just call that a strong sometimes. But I'd like to call it never. So I'm just going to maybe the little tick of never. Ta-da! Should probably... I'm just going to do this because I'm going to do adult ADHD with a love heart as well. Oh, Telby, I must have inhaled some of that parsnip dirt. Right, going back to this, I better save it just in case. So probably just off record, but I also I kind of self-medicate in something. I guess I call it self-medicating. That could just be a fob off. But I smoke a bit of weed. I'm trying not to smoke it because I think it affects libido and sex drive a little bit, and they're the same thing. And basically your intelligence and general become a slight moron. Frankly, well, I do, slight moron. I do obviously love the stuff in the science. I've been smoking it a long time, but it is part of the addiction side to this, that I'm actually hoping to ultimately confront on this path. So I feel uncomfortable actively smoking, something which is still unbelievably illegal, even though that's going to change soon. But only uncomfortable because I don't want to undermine the work that I'm kind of doing, and this whole thing that I'm doing with me, this process. I just want to say that as substances goes, compared to the SSRIs, the inhibitors, serotonin inhibitors, I would rate this way above, especially if you're trying to just go, it's kind of like fix yourself day to day. You want to be able to be in control, and I'd say if there was a choice, I'd stick with hash for your state of mind, totally. And I think ultimately I'm going to probably try and cease it totally, and go full warrior mode. Again, that could just be a pipe dream. We'll figure that out. Anyway, I'll get back to the questionnaire, I think. So yeah, hello again. Ooh. Look, I'm on my leading lady chair. Freebies. Oh, the joys of freebies. Let's just adjust that a minute. Sorry about that. So, where were we? Let's have a look. How often do you have difficulty concentrating on what people say to you, even when they're speaking to you directly? Quite a lot. I tend, when people talk to me, I think they can really tell. I don't think I'm very good at hiding the fact that I kind of glaze over. I've got to be honest. Unless something is truly engaging. Now, in times of belligerence and like self-righteousness, I'm a bit like, well, basically, I'm not interested unless you fully like engage me, like literally, grab me by the fucking horns and drag me to the ground, and stick a megaphone in my earlobes and give me the full lowdown, true and proper, the way that you feel it passionately, and then light a fire inside me, and I will become that fire, and I'll freaking fight for you until the end, like a knight of the ancient realm. You know, that's where I'm at as a person. So, how often, I could rephrase it, but I would sound like Chad Manigan. I'd sound like a twat, but I'm going to go for it. Let's have a look. How often do people talk absolute drivel to you, even when they're speaking to you directly? I would say very often. I've got to be honest with you. I do. I'm very blessed to know some really fucking inspirational and beautiful people, actually, intelligent people. I'm not saying that they speak drivel. I'm just saying I do feel that I hear a lot of drivel. And in a world where reality and truth is being questioned a lot by science and religion, esoterically, metaphysically, existentially, inwards and outwards, microcosmically, it's all being put into question. Sometimes I just can't be asked to have even phatic communion, which means it's the kind of what you call phatic communion is what you call talking about the weather. It's like, hi, I exist. It's a bit grey today, isn't it? It's like, yeah, well, I think it might stay. It's like, yeah, I think it might as well. Although I did hear it's going to clear up. And I say, ooh, is it? Yeah, that kind of stuff, as you all know, phatic communion. But sometimes, you know, when my brain's firing, all the synapses are going at full speed. This might be a superpower thing, but I can like literally finish, and this is a regular. This isn't me showing off or being a twat or being a joker. I can literally think what people are likely to say and calculate the future of people's brains. When I'm firing at full speed, I'm either a bit thick or I'm highly capable of being able to read a situation's future and get it pretty right. Which is very, very useful in certain things in life. But I think I'll return to that in the future when we discuss maybe how to channel your personal superpowers that you might have, and how you can actually use this stuff for good in this world, and actually have a good life as well. So anyway, how often do you have difficulty considering what people say to you? How often do you have difficulty listening to drivel? Yeah, very often. But yeah, you know, I'm happy to send this, to give this whole video to the doctor. How often do you misplace or have difficulty finding things at home or at work? Okay, let's talk it through. For me, I tend to just, because I'm doing quite a few things at once, I tend to put something down thinking, and just, I do misplace things a lot, and it's getting worse as I get older, so I really want to deal with this problem before I become Captain Premature Senile. Imagine what a nightmare I'd be then, if I was legit eccentric. I'm going to be batty as a blooming batsman. Yeah, fuck, is it very often? How are we talking? Are we talking like, sometimes it is like that, isn't it? Sometimes I can literally put something down and go, oh my god, it is dematerialised. So that's when I feel like I'm schizophrenic or something, when I feel there's another version of me who's like, oh yeah, for example, lighters. I'll wizard your lighter away. You won't even know where it is anymore. It's gone. It's always gone. And just as I give it back to you, I've already taken it, but I didn't even know I did it, because it's already in my pocket. Oh no, I haven't got one. And then I do a little lighter dance. Fuck. Very often. How often are you distracted by activity or noise around you? You see? This is where we go. Oh, and actually, let's just say misplace. How often do you tactically, in the name of destiny, how often do you tactically... I wish I could write notes. Tactically waylay and tactically position. How often are you distracted by activity? No. How do you find that your senses are heightened? Heightened. This is really important. Heightened. All the time. I'm like a blooming meerkat. Hold on, I'm scared of losing this. I'm just going to pause it. Yo. Where was I? Meerkat. I'm like a squirrel on high alert. Sometimes. Well, it's certainly a good noise. Like, for example, say I'm in the middle of a conversation. It's an important work conversation. And I've already figured out in an arrogant way, belligerent, whatever you want to call it, fine. You know, but it happens automatically. Auto-idiosyncratically, I think they call it. Or is it something like that? Learn, anyway. It's learnt stuff. You know, I'm happy to unlearn. So you can flog it out of me if that's what you want to do, haters. Get the flogging kit out. It's time for the flogging. So yeah, I'll be just having a chat with someone, and I will hear just this kind of like the telltale throb of something. Who knows what it could be? A little bit like the guy in Wheels in Spaced, but not quite as extreme. And I can become distracted, and that suddenly drives the flow of my creative narrative. And then I come back to this conversation, and then the idea is, it's like I've let the words settle into my brain, I need to. It takes me time to digest things that people tell me. Basically, I need help listening, and listening is something I'm trying to learn to do better. Yeah, I would say fucking loads. How often do you leave your seat in meetings or other situations in which you're expected to remain seated? Yeah. Yeah, often. I'm good at meditating, everyone. But how often do you feel restless or fidgety? Often. How often do you have difficulty unwinding and relaxing when you have time to yourself? Tough call. I think I'm pretty good at that. Let's be honest. Compared to many, I've used to graft like a lot more on the regular. So I used to do like 6 days, sometimes 13-day fortnights and stuff on the regular, really long hours. I do have to fill myself with my time with stuff, and I do have insomnia, so I can't sleep. So I sometimes feel guilty for doing things like playing computer games and stuff, and that. Yeah, but it's still doing stuff with my time. I don't know. Unwinding. I'm going to say rarely. Rarely. How often do you find yourself talking too much when you're in social talking? Hold on. How often do you find yourself talking too much when you're in social situations? I'm pretty good at listening. I'd like to think what somebody else thought about that, to be honest. Might like to ask somebody. Let's just go and ask somebody. Yeah, do you mind being in this a minute?
Yeah, that's okay.
Right, I've got to ask a question. I'm asking a question.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got options. Never, rarely, sometimes, often, or very often. It's a question that I can't answer myself.
Okay.
Because I just don't know. Because I think that maybe I don't, but I don't know. How often do you find yourself talking too much when you're in social situations?
I have to answer that.
Yeah, you go for it.
Often.
Often?
Often. Talking social situations, yeah, often.
Really?
Yeah.
I was going to go for sometimes because I thought I was quite good. I've been learning to listen.
Am I answering for you or for me?
No, do you think often for you?
Yeah.
Oh, right, well, no, for me.
Often as well.
There we have it. There we have it. There we have it. Thanks, man.
In a good way.
No, yeah. I know, this is all good. This is all for the good.
Positive.
Yeah, it's all for the good. Thanks.